Okay, next up, Samsung's Bixby Marketplace is finally out, but it's a barren wasteland. Bixby, yeah, it's still there. It's still a thing. And they have a marketplace now, because that's what you do. When you've got something that most people consider to be useless or they're just not using it, what you do is you build a marketplace for it. This, for me, is precisely the reason why Google is Google, why the Huawei operating system thing was never really compelling to me, why I never believed in this Google alternative. We came from fragmentation. You remember a time? We've been at Android. Since day one, I've been using it. Original Samsung Galaxy had it. That's not even Android day one, but it's close enough to it. The conversation, it's a word you don't even hear anymore, was fragmentation. What was floating around in the sphere on YouTube. It was like, oh man, it's so fragmented. Different people on different versions of Android. I mean, there is still fragmentation. It was the argument for iOS, like, you know what you're getting. And it was a nightmare. Everybody was praying, hoping for a consolidation, for norms, for general rules around what Android was and how devices would interpret it and all that. And then we got closer and closer and closer to that, and manufacturers want to go the other way because there's this thing, there's this relationship between differentiation and fragmentation. You want to be different, but in order to do so, you had to fragment. And that's sort of where Bixby falls for me. Samsung, I felt like starting to get it with the One UI, like, hey, people, unless you can really, truly improve it, like basically deliver something clean, and people won't be offended by it. If your differentiation factor is minor, I think OnePlus does a good job of this too. Like by, let's say, speeding up animations. That's a differentiating factor, but it's an enhancement. It's not some whole new mental workaround where you need to learn some entirely different skin or OS or something like this. And then this Bixby story here for me illustrates the alternative, which is, yeah, we can compete with Google Assistant. Now, I should take a moment to say here, Bixby, believe it or not, for all the bad press that it got, could actually do things inside the phone that Assistant isn't capable of on a hardware level. There were some deep integrations available through Bixby. This is the only reason I'm able to tell you this is because of reading about that functionality, not using it myself, because I'm telling you, I never use it. I use Samsung phones a lot of the time, never use Bixby, because I don't want to use some other assistant. There's only place for one assistant. Or maybe two, much the same way that there's space for one or two operating systems. People need standards. I can't be picking up all these different devices and like relearning the whole thing. Like, oh, now I'm a Bixby user and then you want uniform experiences. I want to pick up another. If I grab somebody else's laptop, I want to know what to expect from an OS perspective. If I grab somebody else's phone or I switch phones frequently and so on, I don't want to redo the whole learning curve and so on. So Bixby, they're not backing off of it. They think it's a major factor for them. They think it's a differentiator. They think it's a reason people are going to buy a Samsung device. And so they've got this marketplace now, which is allowing third parties to build in their own types of integrations for their apps that could be accessible or more sophisticated through Bixby. That people will be able to interact with different features, third-party features through Bixby. Anyway, there's a couple of examples of it here, like meme generator, for example. You can have a certain set of that's believe it or not, that's one of the things available in Bixby Marketplace. There's a capsule is what they call it. There's a capsule for meme generator, and you could say, with meme generator, I want to make a meme. So it's like this sophisticated kind of instruction, and Bixby's capable of doing it. But the problem is, how do you get the third parties to buy into this alternative platform? They're having a hard enough time keeping their stuff going with like the typical assistants and marketplaces and app stores and so on. And this fragmentation means ultimately less attention from these developers goes into the various places, and everything ends up working a bit wackier. Kind of like when BlackBerry was crossing their fingers that people were willing to develop apps specifically for that platform. And they were like, well, man, we can barely keep up. We can barely keep our iPhone app good enough the way we want it right now. And now we got to take the team and do this other thing for this smaller marketplace, for this smaller population. They don't want to do it. So anyway, some of this stuff is cool. It's like Alexa skills. Like if you really got into it, you could probably do some cool stuff here. But again, you're going to have to remap your head completely to become like a hardcore Bixby person. And then you're going to have to count on the developers to create these capsules. As of right now, it's a wasteland. There's like a dozen things to do in there, and many of them already existed. And a lot of them are like from Samsung themselves. I don't think there's anything that could ever turn me into a Bixby user. Like, I just don't see how it could happen. It would have to be better in every way than Google Assistant. And even there, Google Assistant has everything on me already, right? Because the integration into my... Now, some people are afraid of that. They're like, I don't want everything in one place, but it makes Assistant work so much better when it has the background on you. And that's one of Google's strengths. I would not want to be competing with Google right now. Look what happened with Apple. You never hear people talking like about using Siri or how good Siri is. And they got all the money in the world. You know how much money Apple has? You do. Answer it, Will.
Trillion?
A boatload. You knew the answer to that, Will. I don't know why you didn't drop it, man. You had a real opportunity there. That was a moment in time. Apple has a boatload of money. And they bought companies and hired developers, and Siri is garbage.
Yeah, same with Apple Maps.
Same with Maps. This stuff is so hard. I'm telling you right now, Samsung is time to back down. Look, if you are a Bixby user, I get it. You can do cool stuff. But I don't want Samsung putting their attention here. I'm telling you. It's too much. Too much to go up against. It's, I want them to spend their time on stuff that Google isn't already doing and doing well. Because that's a no-win situation as far as I'm concerned. Even with the extended integration and all that, it ain't there. It ain't prime time. Will he do? A boatload ain't going to fix it. Boatload of cash can't fix that situation. Nope.